We're on Alaskan Way at Columbia Street, or near Alaskan Way at Columbia Street, I should say, right by the Coleman Ferry dock, where the viaduct is still here, but the Columbia Street on-ramp is not. It is gone, and we have these big pieces of equipment hard at work removing some of that material that used to be the Columbia Street ramp. I mean, it is just gone. Where there was ramp, there's now air. And it's the first example of what it's going to be like to clear that view out once the viaduct is gone. And it really won't be long. In fact, we'll hear from not only Brian Nielsen, who's in charge of the viaduct removal project, but Phil Wallace from Kiewit Construction, which is the general contractor on the viaduct removal, about what's ahead. We'll also go down the way here near Railroad Avenue and Bell Street and Alaskan Way, and we'll take a look at the stuff that's already been removed. We are just up Alaskan Way from the Seattle Aquarium. You can see the great wheel behind it. Most of the viaduct's still here, but there are pieces missing, including this one right here that has already been removed all the way down past the market, where it picks up again, but will go eventually. And again, you can see the rubble here that they're going to be removing. And again, you can see where there was a freeway, now there's a big chunk missing. I also promised you I'd get a look at the work being done over near Bell Street. You can see where that construction trailer is up above. That's part of the old viaduct highway there. And you can see it is gone, and they are hauling away tons of material. But here's where it really gets good. Because they have this big equipment here moving stuff out. But I'll walk a little closer so you can see. They are also taking down the roadway. We'll get a better view of that over here. Note to self, earplugs when you're going by the viaduct demolition. The sound of those big chunks of concrete falling into that dump truck are pretty loud. That equipment being used by subcontractor Firma is some specialized equipment. And according to Phil Wallace of Kiewit, the head of the company is also an inventor who will regularly go to where that equipment is made and make changes to it as needed. But as you can see, it really basically just looks like a giant metal dinosaur chewing away at the concrete, and you can see the debris falling through the bottom there as that machine chews away at it. can also see they're spraying water under it to keep the dust to a minimum.
Good afternoon, I'm Brian Nielsen, the administrator for the Alaskan Way viaduct replacement project. Thank you all for coming out today. I just wanted to kick off with a few thoughts. Here we stand today at Columbia Street with the Columbia Street ramp gone, and just highlight the improvement to the area already. Really highlights the improvements to the waterfront when we are no longer in the shadow of the viaduct. We'll be able to have clear views from downtown to water and mountains and the waterfront businesses, which, by the way, during demolition remain open for business. So come down to the waterfront or Pike Place Market or Pioneer Square and witness for yourselves this historic project to remove the viaduct from the waterfront. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight for folks with regard to the tunnel being open to traffic. It was a slow opening with the snow and Seattle schools out for vacation. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a steady increase in the use of the tunnel. Over the last couple of weeks, it's been in the range of 60 to 1,000 vehicles per day during the week, in a total of around 400,000 vehicles throughout a 7-day period. So we continue to monitor the traffic using the tunnel and in the local streets around the tunnel, and work with the City of Seattle to keep that traffic moving as best as we are able. Also wanted to highlight some work we did this weekend down at the East Marginal Way, Colorado and Atlantic Street intersection, right at the Terminal 46 entrance. That work finished out paving that new intersection. Over the next week or so, we'll be finishing that intersection with striping and a traffic signal, and then that intersection will be open to traffic, allowing two options to get across the railroad tracks there at Atlantic Street. So that'll be another big step in our program. With those couple of updates, I'm going to turn the mic over to Phil Wallace with Kiewit.
Good afternoon. I'm Phil Wallace with Kiewit Infrastructure West, and we're really excited to get started demolishing part of the Alaskan Way viaduct right along the waterfront here. We've been a couple weeks into it. We demolished about 20 million pounds of concrete and rebar right now, so we're about 15% done with the Alaskan Way viaduct. We got a little bit slowed at the beginning of this because of Snowmageddon, but we've got everything operating now. We've actually starting heading up at the north end by the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, where we'll be saw cutting material and taking pieces out in sections. I'll go to this map here and I'll kind of give you a description, because one thing that's new that's coming up is we're actually going to start where the double-decker demolition. So we're going to get that started later this week, and that'll be happening right behind us, actually, about half a block back is where we're going to start. So I'll get one move closer so I'm in front of the mic. So as we're going through the demolition process, the first thing we've done, and you've probably seen it out there, is we've moved traffic over. So we're back to one lane in each section so we can get a barrier away from the demolition. And we've also set up base material underneath the viaduct to protect utilities. Well, the first operation will have a smaller excavator up on the second deck, and he'll start breaking between the girders. What we call stitch breaking. So it'll break up those girders. And once that's done, then there's a bigger excavator from the bottom that'll, with its extra length, that'll demolish those girders in each section. Once those come down, you'll have another excavator ahead. This will kind of be the process you see, where you'll see something happening here. We have an excavator on the lower deck, stitch breaking in front of it, and the bigger excavator in the back taking down the lower deck. So that will be the process all the way along, heading all the way north up to the aquarium. We're starting that probably Wednesday this week. We'll actually get started. This ramp behind us, Columbia ramp, is about done. And what we're doing now is setting up construction. You're seeing we got some fencing going in. We're starting to get mobilized to put a temporary pedestrian bridge in. So there'll be a pedestrian bridge that comes off Coleman Dock that takes people up to this intersection here and over to tie into the existing Marion Street ramp. Another thing we've done here lately is we're going to leave a section of the viaduct open. We're not going to completely demolish it around Marion Street, so we can keep that ramp operational all the way through the demolition. So we won't take that section out until we have the new pedestrian bridge all the way in place. Let's see this one. So just kind of, I was saying we're about 15% done. I'll now get into the sections where we've completed. So coming out of the Battery Street Tunnel, heading south, we've demolished a whole section in here. This section right in here is where we're going to do, right close to the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, is where we're going to be saw cutting and taking sections out in pieces with cranes. And that'll start happening here this week. We're actually getting our saw cutting going. There's another operation that was down right in front here, right in front of the aquarium. That operation is complete now, and they're moving down to where you see in this red. So that's just like the half a block south of us here. So that operation will head north down the waterfront Alaskan Way. This other front that we had here, they'll be coming in to bolster that group. So that's where you'll get the demolition on the top and bottom. So you have those two moving all the way north. Once we get to Seneca, there'll be a group that breaks off to demolish the Seneca Street ramp. So everything's pretty much going as planned. We're happy to be doing this, and so far the reaction from the community and from our neighbors has been pretty good. We're trying to be good neighbors. We have a pretty good communications program, both with the company, with the contractor, and with WashDOT, that we try to work closely with everyone.
So, questions?
What have you guys learned from the Columbia on-ramp that has changed your guys' approach to noise and communication with businesses?
Actually, for noise, we haven't had very many noise complaints at all. There was a dust complaint right here from a person in the building across the street here, but that person had allergies. There's two things that we do to control the dust. If you looked at some of the processors, and maybe you've got video of it, we actually have the firm, our demo contractor, has water in their counterweights for their excavators, and they pipe that and vaporize that water right at the crushing head, so it knocks all the water down. We also have at least one or two people with hoses knocking all of that dust down. So I think we've done pretty good at this point. That's one of the reasons we try to keep people off too. So if you see, we move people off so all that dust gets down before it would impact any people on the street.
Does this pillar here serve any temporary purpose or permanent purpose?
So this actually is part of it. I told you about a temporary bridge, pedestrian bridge that's going in place. We're actually going to utilize this foundation for this column in our construction of that temporary pedestrian bridge. So there'll be a temporary bridge that goes in here that'll be in place for a few years until the Seattle waterfront project's complete, and then that bridge will be taken down. So it's just a temporary bridge, but when we did our engineering, we figured this is like, we're going to have a temporary bridge go right through here. Why not use this column?
Can you review again when the temporary bridge is going to be built and when it opens for use?
The new temporary bridge, if Brian's walking over here, it's right around the beginning of July is when we're hoping to have all of that in place.
Opens in July.
Yeah.
So you're going to leave a little piece of
so
viaduct and Marion open until July.
Yep. So there'll be a section on that Marion Bridge that will come back when we open up the bridge. That will be demolished at that time.
Okay, so folks will keep going through here until the summer.
So, but if this is, it sounds to me like you're talking about a bridge over there, but now you're talking about using this. I'm confused.
Yeah, this bridge goes down here, and at this street here, then it takes a left and goes down until it ties into the Marion Street Bridge.
So this is going to be something that won't come down here, but it'll make
goes all the way back and ties into the Marion Street Bridge at the next intersection.
Is that going to look like a bunch of steel
That's
scaffolding
pedestrian bridge.
as it wraps around, or what?
Steel scaffolding. No.
What's the structure made out of?
It's a steel structure, but it's not scaffolding.
Like we have columns on it, or what?
Well, yeah, there'll be a bunch of columns like you see here,
Yeah.
with a steel bridge on top of them. So it'll be a column with a cap on the top and then a bridge on top of it.
Oh, are you making concrete columns on Western?
Yes, so it'll be the same thing. We're drilling shafts and columns
For a temporary bridge?
for a temporary bridge.
Do you have to like go way the heck down
No,
there with
we don't have to
Malcolm
go
drilling and all that?
No, but it's got to be a suitable foundation for the bridge.
How much longer of a walk is it? Detour is it once it gets people?
I guess it'd be 2 blocks.
2 blocks.
Yeah.
So have you learned anything on just in the demolition you've done so far that's like, hey, we didn't expect that, or this is a lesson to learn, or, I mean, beyond dust abatement for someone
Yeah.
that has an allergy? But
Yes, you know, when you get into demolition, you're going to find out things. There's some things that we found out as we've been demolishing the bridge on how it reacts when we're taking it down. And the way we planned the work, we could do that work where there's less impact to any building. So we did it in open areas where we try to practice a little bit. I wouldn't say we had a pretty good plan, but there's some things that we didn't know everything. Now we think as we get into this new work that we've learned a lot of lessons. Probably haven't learned all of them, but we're in really good shape.
Is it more difficult than you might have thought to take it apart?
I mean, none of this is easy. You got to have the right equipment and the right people. I think we have both of those. We have a great demo contractor in Firma. We're doing a lot of support with them in keeping all our barriers in place and our dust suppression. So I think it's going to plan.
And subset of that, is the structure itself tougher than it looks?
I wouldn't say it's tougher than it looks. It looks pretty tough. So it looks like it is.
Phil, how big are those sections you're going to be saw cutting?
Those saw cutting, there's probably like 3 to 4 ton pieces, just smaller sections that you can handle with not a big crane, a medium-sized crane, and move over to a truck. And then those will get trucked down to our Terminal 25, Port of Seattle, and they'll be crushed. So that's where we're going to have a concrete crusher set up at Terminal 25. Those sections will be sent down there to be processed.
Any of it going to Mohi?
No.
so then is that crushed concrete being recycled?
Yeah, recycled and put in the Battery Street Tunnel. So we fill up, part of the job that we have is to fill up decommission the Battery Street Tunnel. So that'll be part of the material that goes into the tunnel.
Phil, what do businesses and residents that live along here need to know as this double-decker demolition gets underway?
I think hopefully they're excited that this barrier from their view of the sound is going to be gone here in the short month. As we go through the areas, each area, say a couple block area, within a month will be out. And when I say complete, it's like probably a couple weeks for the demolition, maybe a week for prep, getting everything ready, a couple weeks for demolition, and then another week on the back end of that doing restoration. So all of that should go pretty quickly for them. So hopefully it's a small impact and they hardly even see us.
Will dust be different since it's actually a double-decker?
Yeah, so there'll be, that's part of the reason why we're trying to keep, your people are farther away on the bottom. We'll actually have some new methods of keeping that dust in, so there'll be some debris netting that'll be hung to keep everything within our work area. So that'll be something that you probably didn't see as much when you're lower to the ground.
Noise is an interesting thing because it doesn't seem you're not continuously banging. You're doing a lot of other work, and it's not like you're doing 85 decibels all day long. It's only for short periods. What proportion of the time are you at full noise, and does that differ when you go to the double decker?
I think it might go where you have more area get demolished at one time, Mike, because you'll have people doing the stitch breaking on the top, and then a couple spans ahead you'll have people doing it on the bottom. So there'll probably be more noise in a bigger area than we've seen up to now. So some of that will happen. We haven't had many noise complaints. It's only been like 2 or 3 noise complaints total. So part of that is us trying to get started a little earlier. So we made some lessons learned with their crews. They kind of started the gun going on the weekend a couple times too quickly, and we put measures in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. So.
Do you expect the more you learn, the faster you'll be able to go through?
Well, that's all. Everything in construction, this is demolition, but when there's a learning curve. When you start doing, especially with this double decker, it's going to be new right when we start. But as we go proceeding north, it's going to go faster and faster as we go along. That's what will happen.
As an engineer yourself, sometimes you don't know what something's made out of until you dig into it. What impresses you about this on an engineer level that this piques your interest about?
What you know what
that you get to
you know
share
what
with us?
you know what is when you start seeing these pieces of equipment that firmers brought in to demolish this viaduct. They're pretty impressive in what they can do to that concrete with just with the attachments they made. The owner of the company is actually an inventor, and he works with LaBounty. LaBounty manufactures these munching attachments. He actually goes to their, they have a manufacturing plant in Minnesota, northern Minnesota. He goes out there and makes modifications to their munchers so they can work better and operate longer. So I've just been impressed with our demo contractor and how these equipment he's brought to bear here and how they're operating. Good question.
Yeah. Can you take visual from the column to the ferry terminal? Where does it land over there?
Where does the
Temporary bridge. Where does it land on the other side?
Go ahead.
Honestly, Mike, I'm going a little bit from memory, but it goes from this column right next to us here in Columbia Street to the column that's on the west side of the viaduct that intersects along that. And it takes just a slight angle to the south.